Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this week's episode of Failing Forward. This is Hip Hop Eddie, the voice of a generation. And now your host, Kelsey Ray.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Failing Forward, episode 3, brought to you by Stay Illuminated. You can go over to stayilluminated.com right now. I've told you that I'm going to tell you every week why you should support Stay Illuminated, because I have no bullshit sponsors. This is a good sponsor. StayIlluminated.com right now. Go over there. Crappy awesome for free shipping anywhere in the universe. I put a lot of pressure on them. They're going to have to get it to you if you don't live on the planet. But you should support them. I told you the last episode. And by the way, I know you're super surprised that there's another episode this week. I'm on it. I told you guys I was going to be on it. I'm on it. I'm not forgetting you guys. You guys are downloading the shit out of the episodes, and that means so much. That means a lot for a new project. But nonetheless, StayIlluminated.com. They support independent artists. I know the owner. I talked to you about the owner last time, Tony. This is out of his pocket. Like, he's literally, his dream is to be a platform for independent artists and great music. And that's where it's coming from. However, I already gave you that example on the last show. So this time I can tell you about the collective of artists that they work with. You can look them up at stayilluminated.com. They shoot, their photographer is Gadzooks, great friend of mine, independent photographer. He loves it. He's in it for all the right reasons. And he takes pictures of everybody in Stay Illuminated. So all the pictures you see are from him. And that's dope because he's having an amazing year. And I think you should support Stay Illuminated so that Gadzooks, an independent photographer, a father of one, an amazing husband, apparently. She speaks very highly of him. I don't see it personally, but you know. So that he can continue doing his art and maybe start doing that art full time. Because everything he puts out has a meaning and there's love behind it. And so if you need a reason, like if you're at stayilluminated.com and you're like, should I get this shirt or whatever? Or should I go somewhere else? It's 100% independent, man. These guys literally draw and put together the designs themselves. I've seen them do it. They pick the colors. They work with the artists themselves to create all the stuff they do. So go do that. Do it for Zooks. You know what I mean? Episode 3 is here. Like I said, I was going to try to do more episodes during the week. And if I have time to do it, I will always do it. So bear with me, man. We're working it out. Today I have a really good friend of mine. She's a great artist, a healer, inspiration, a muse, a van lady. She lives in a van sometimes. She lives in the world. She's one of my best friends. She's like my sister from another mister. Irene, do I need to say your full, can I say your full name? Do you care? Oh, Irene Zapata. I call her Irie though, and the world knows her as Irie. She's the first Irie I ever met, second Irie on my show. Shout out to Sister Irie from LA. Maybe we'll play some of her music, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But Irie's here, and we're just hanging out, man. It's, one of the reasons I wanted to have Irie just on the show so you guys can just kind of meet her is a lot of the stuff that I formulate in my head. Irie is my tennis player. She's like my tennis opponent in a lot of those things. She bounces ideas back and forth. We do that a lot. It's like shooting hoops or going for a jog for us. Like it's just we tend to do it a lot. And like one of the things we were talking about before we started recording was how touchy a subject like the Me Too subject is. And for people who don't know that, or you've been living under a rock, or maybe you just don't watch any media at all, that's cool too. You're probably better off for it.
That's
hopefully you're
right
not
there.
a dick. You know what I mean? Hopefully you're not
watch
like a natural
too much
bitch. Yeah.
media. So
Exactly. In fact, I think I'm usually the one who catches you up. Hey, have you heard about this? Or,
definitely.
And I'm definitely one of those people. Like the way I take in media has always been like, I think it's like a sports thing. Like I always like to see what the opponent is doing. Like what are you guys talking about out there? You know. But it is funny. You were saying something about like Trump earlier, like that people give him so much power, and you know, and you're 100% correct. And is interesting because I was talking to somebody about this earlier today. That when I watch Trump, nothing gets me like it doesn't get me bent out of shade because like I know it's a cartoon. You know what I mean?
That's how I feel. That's the way I see him as well. I kind of just. It's not really worth, you know, the energy, the amount of hate that we would give back.
Because you know it's all fake.
Because it's all fake.
Yeah.
It's like 100%. And like our job is to see behind the illusions. And the more that we get worked up by him, by his presence, you know, the more that we are not really pushing ourselves and our energy forward from that. We're kind of staying in that same stagnant hate, you know, perpetuating that hate, you know.
And there's no doubt about what you're saying too. Like it's like to me, what you're saying is, and you know, I think the cool dynamic, or like one of the things that I appreciate about our relationship is like I tend to be like a numbers guy. Like that's the way I see things, like in systems and like. Sure. And you tend to be more free flowing
and more intuitive. Like intuitive information is like my thing.
That's
you know,
your
like
thing.
feeling the world, feeling the vibes of the
You're
world
a good
and the people. Yes, totally.
And so when you say something, like it's very easy. Like when I agree with you because it's usually like to me it's just math. Like what you're saying to me is so real and so true. I can't think of an argument that's not silly. Like an argument against it. You know what I mean? Like, well, no, like what you're saying. Like you'd have to really reach out for you to like not be able to see the things you're talking about. You know what I mean? Or you're in parts of America maybe, or just you're one of those people who've completely checked out of society. And like I said, the reason I said that early on is like, I hope you're not a dick, because that exists. There's people who've checked out of society and they're just dicks. And for whatever reason, they didn't pick up a lot of the things that could have made their lives happier, right? They're off the grid, but they're unhappy. Right. And that's gotta be the worst situation for me. When I think like as an American, right? Like the luxury of being homeless and alive is a real thing. You know, but there is reality of being so poor and being unhappy and not seeing a light at the end of the tunnel for whatever reason, whatever got you there, right? We know that those people exist.
Yeah, of course.
That's got to be the toughest spot there is. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's really hard to even like speak on that, you know, because
have you met anyone in that situation?
Well, because like if I want to go back to the things that I believe in, right, and I think about the things like where my happiness comes from, the life that I'm creating for myself. No, I've definitely been one of those people. Like I feel like I've been like growing up, you know, when I was much younger, coming from a place like, you know, kind of drug addicted and like family, you know, and alcohol addicted, and like things didn't look like they would be like okay at times, you know.
There didn't seem a way out.
They didn't seem like there was like a light, you know, like because someone like at that time someone else had control over like my life, which was my parent. You know, you're under kind of their guide and like you know whatever. You're
hoping they don't sink the ship.
Right, exactly.
But you're not allowed to drive.
Exactly, right? So that's the frustration. And so, but then growing up and getting past all that and, you know, being like right now, I would call myself the master of my dream. Yeah. You know, or becoming the master of my dream, you know. Now, though. As an adult. Yeah. And going through so many obstacles. But then, you know, I know adults, even so, that live in those dark spaces, you know, like you said, living off the grid, maybe quote unquote without a home, you know, but like not happy and, you know, in this really dark space. But then I struggle with the fact that, like, with manifesting, you know, we talk about manifesting and, like, creating the reality that you want to see, you know? So is it really that simple? Yeah. You know what I mean? Is if I think happy thoughts and I bring myself back to this light all the time, you know, am I going to be able to live in that reality? And that's the reality that I'm going to create, you know? So it's like...
Okay, so maybe, you know, like when you were going through, like, the darkest times.
Yeah.
Can you remember maybe moments that seemed like you turned it around on your own? Like, even if it was just for a brief moment where you're like, well, I have hope. Like, you know what? Screw that. I'm going to live a new life. And maybe you got knocked back down after, but was there a moment that it felt like, oh, I am turning this all around?
Yeah, for sure.
So
that has been
right?
the entire process. Yeah. Of getting to the space that I'm in, right? Like now, you know, I feel like where I'm living right now is my best life. Like, you know, like...
Do you think the flaw is for a lot of people thinking that happens quick? Like they can turn it around in a day?
I think that, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because it's like anything good requires effort and work. You know, and sometimes we don't see that unless it's tangible. We're like, oh, if we put in work to our job or to this, fixing this,
get a paycheck,
or this paycheck or fixing this car or whatever. You know, the biggest work is you. It's inside of you. Yeah. That's the task we're here to really, well, you know, this is my opinion. Sure. You know, this is how, this comes from my belief
And we're not
systems.
Speaking for everyone.
No, this
we're
is
saying
not,
that now, so you don't have to, we don't have to say it again.
Because, you know, like I said, I never want to...
Yeah. You're just hanging out with us.
There's so many rivers, you know what I mean? And,
exactly.
and none of them are wrong and none of them are right. You know, right and wrong is all subjective as well. So, you know, this is like my journey, my path, you know, whatever.
What you have found to make you
What
the
have
happiest.
I found to make me happy?
Yes.
It's like, you know, being persistent, staying persistent on things and like knowing that like my job here is beyond being human, but there's a lot of like spiritual work for me and that's like internal. There's a lot of work that I have to do to bring myself to get to know myself and who I am, you know, and like just staying and sticking true to that work. That's not my number one priority. You know, if I'm not feeling okay or a little bit emotional, I'm always talking to myself. Hey, why do you feel like this? Why do you think you feel self-awareness, you know? And then knowing and telling myself like, hey, it's okay to be in this dark space, but not tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like today it's okay. Today you can feel like this, you know, but it's not always going to be like this.
Don't think you're quitting.
Don't think you're quitting. It's just like a constant. And like, like knowing that like, not to take anything personal, you know, the world isn't doing this to me. You know what I mean?
Where did you find, I don't know if I've ever even asked you this. So that's dope. Where do you have a memory? I know it's a process and sometimes it's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah.
But like around a time where you said, oh, this might be self-awareness. Like I'm starting to like discover myself.
100% is when I fell. Like I had a big accident and that's like a whole background story.
Yeah, but can you tell people just like a brief?
I mean, it's pretty deep.
It's not brief.
You know, so it's not so brief.
And we'll get into it at some
maybe
point.
There'll be chapters of this or something like that. But I mean, I had a major accident and I was like...
crippling accident,
yeah, for sure. Pretty crippling accident. And I was like almost 5 years ago. I think February 2nd of this year, 2018 will be 5 years. But it seems like kind of like yesterday.
Wow.
Or maybe it's gonna be 4. I can't remember. Either way, it was a big accident. I fell from Sunset Cliffs. It was like a big thing. I fell with a friend.
Off a cliff.
Off of a cliff. It was like 40 feet cliff. It was pretty intense. And it was, for me, it was like a super, how do you even begin to describe what this was? It was definitely a gift from the universe because it's a complete breakdown for me of like who I ever thought I was, whatever I thought
demolish the ego.
Yeah, demolish of the ego, like body, mind, spirit, like a complete like breakdown. Like, and so at that time I refer it to like me sitting under a tree, like by myself, you know? for a period of time, and like getting to really know myself. Like I was bedridden for like months. I was pretty much going to be paralyzed, but like thank goodness for modern like science and technology, because they were able to fix me. I was on a 12-hour surgery. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. It took me some time to be able to walk again. And like
you have artificial pieces.
I have artificial pieces in my back. Yeah. So like if I wouldn't have those right now, like I wouldn't even be here, like because I broke my L2, my lower lumbar vertebrae, and I pretty much like literally, if this was 50 years ago, like they would have just put me out, because there's no way you can function without that part of your body. So anyway, I was under that metaphorical tree for quite some time. So I spent a lot of time with myself, you know, and like just me. And also another person was my grandmother. She told me a lot of stories about like her being a kid in Mexico, leaving her parents when she was 10 years old, having to make a life for herself, like literally leaving when she was 10 and never seeing her parents again. And all this, anytime I felt...
So you were like it was almost like you were learning your history and everything about like where you came from.
Yeah, and strength, like, you know...
Was that planned though, like the grandma thing, or she was just going to be around?
She
was like a caretaker.
nursing me back to health, and any days that I felt like I was like shit, like I was like, fuck everything, because literally my whole world just like collapsed. Like my job, everything that I was doing, like no job, I couldn't do anything. Like I still have bills to pay, but I had no money to survive. Crippled. Yeah, completely. Like laying in a bed day after day after day after day after day by myself. You know, sometimes there'd be no company. It would just be me and my fucking head.
Did you break other? Like, I know you broke it. It was mostly around your back. Did you break legs or arms?
No, I just had like a messed up right arm, and then like a lot of nerve damage on my left leg. Right. Yeah, but pretty much it was the back. And so like I had to let that wound heal, so that I could even begin to start standing and walking and like all over again. So
how did you fight the... I know we're going to get off the topic.
And death was like on my mind, like, because I almost died. And like, as crazy as this sounds, people say this all the time, but I definitely saw my life flash before my eyes. You know, like my entire, like that's how I was able to reach out for my friend and like grab her and know that we were both gonna fall, because like my whole life flashed before my eyes, and I thought and I felt like I had a good life. Like whatever it was, I was willing to let go. And then I did, and I knew that at that moment of letting go that could be it, you know?
Yeah.
But then I woke up and I was back here again. And that is where my whole, like you said, the death of the ego.
Right.
And then like really...
Like your journey of
my journey of self-awareness, and like really, what am I? Beyond being human. Right. What am I?
Yeah.
You know? Because human is such a very small portion of what we are. Right. And that's what I believe, you know? So that was like definitely like the most pivotal time. Like that was my metamorphosis. Like I feel like I also was like a little worm in the cocoon, and then after I got out of that dark space, because that was a fucking dark space, man. Like I said, I couldn't leave, I couldn't move. Everything like was, I had also recently left a partner that I was with for like over 12 years of my life. So I was also mourning that life.
It's like literally someone came in and dropped a bomb on your life.
Totally. Like now you had to pick up the pieces. And I had to pick up the pieces.
And some of them weren't there anymore.
No. Yeah. And it was the darkest place in my entire existence. And I was not only like hurting physically, but like my spirit, everything that was in me was like breaking down. And it was really hardcore, but my grandma's stories gave me so much strength, like to face the darkness, because my grandma, like I said, was like, I just felt like when I would be like, fuck today, I hate today, my grandma would tell me that for her words. She was like, yeah, okay, fuck today. That's fine. You can lay here and feel bad for yourself today, but not tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you why. And let me tell you a story about myself. And then she'd go in and tell me about her strength, her struggles.
Was she always like, was she always
no, my grandma never really shared a lot of stories.
Wow, she saved it for when you needed it.
Yeah, and she also, a lot of my family, even her own kids, don't know some of the stories that she told me. And seeing her in front of my face, caretaking for me, gave me evidence that it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because she's come this far.
Right.
And she did it by herself.
And she was
faced the darkness.
Giving you examples.
She was giving me
how you
primary examples.
Yeah.
It was no bullshit. It was, and that is how we learn. We have to learn through not what I say, but what I do, those examples of living, of experiences. And that's what we have to share with the world. That is our biggest gifts to each other, is to be each other's primary examples, to be able to be that rope, to throw that hand, to be like, hey, I know. But what we have to do is have the willingness to listen, to want to listen, to hear these things, you know, because that's the glimmer of hope. And that's the beautiful thing about being human. When you think that all that human is shit, that's the glimmer of hope about being human. Those experiences are human experiences, you know, those are our experiences. That's how we learn, and that's how we grow. And my grandma gave me that, and I saw it. And I saw, if she's sitting right here speaking to me, telling me this now, that means she survived it. So therefore, I will survive this. I can survive this. This is just today, but I will not be like this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that.
You know what? I want to, man. See, I knew it was dope to have you. I knew. Dude, I know people are taking a lot of value out of this. Look. And it's cool because I also knew, like, credit to you guys. I know that, like, the audience would. I knew you guys would like each other. I knew you would. Like, it's totally. You know what I'm talking about, audience. This is what we talk about on this show. It's super dope. But I want to play some music, and then I want to come back and talk about, because I think a lot of the things that. One of the things that I've heard from, like, listeners is, like, man, you know, the inspiration of being so positive and blah, blah, you know, all the stuff you guys talk about. But I'm not there.
Right.
Like, I'm in this other spot. And I want to see if we can talk about, like, maybe we'll talk about some stories about when, you know, you were in those spots, when you were like, nah, this isn't going to work out.
For sure.
Because I think the process is
I think you've
cool
seen
to learn.
me go through some of that stuff too, for sure.
I have, but and that's why, to me, I just knew your story and your presence on the show is super important, because I think it's like you've had these blessings that most people at face value might not look at as blessings. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
And you've been able to, like, take them apart and, you know, compartmentalize certain things and then reinvent certain things and I see you doing the work, you know what I mean? And I want people to understand how I see you doing the work. I know it's hard. I know there's things that you go through, but your ability to look at it and go, this is just part of life. Like, that's a big tool that I think people learn, but I know you only learn that when you're bloodiest and you're most beat up, and because you had to first do it,
for sure,
for you to know that it was going to be great. You know what I mean? And then you had this, you know, like your grandma. I mean, wow, like, I mean, to drop that on you and just be like, here's everything you might need right now at this time to survive. And one of the things that I was thinking about too is it's hard. It gets lost, I think, in that big, that's such a big lesson and mission. But it is heartwarming too to think about, like, man, she, like, really loved you. Like, she was, like, really, like, I can't lose this one.
For sure.
I'm gonna dig into my soul. I don't even probably like talking about these things much.
True,
but this is what she needs. So fuck it, you know? And I think that's so...
That's her medicine.
We're gonna play some music. So, guys, what I thought about, right, since I knew Irene was gonna be on the show, I wanted to play... And we are going to talk. I know we started the whole thing talking about, like, and we were talking about the Me Too. We'll talk about that eventually. But I thought it was important you had some background on our guest today. And I picked a soundtrack from a bunch of, 3 artists that I know very well, 3 female artists that I think are amazing. And instead of picking the songs that I was like, oh, this will relate because it's sensitive or whatever, I said, nah, I'm going to just pick these dope ass songs that make and these ladies are just showing out. They're so dope And I just wanted to share them with you. So I'll play a song right now, and then we'll come back and talk about it a little bit, and then keep it rolling.
I'm not alone, I'm not alone. Don't call my phone, don't call my phone. I'm not at home, I'm not at home. Leave me alone, leave me alone. Don't call my phone, don't text me. 'Cause I'm trying to get away from everything that upsets me, everything that brings stress to me. I feel like popping ecstasy, but I'd rather be on other vices. 'Cause I left that part of my life back when there was no sunny days like this. I am so excited. When I get up on this microphone, I cannot help but ignite this beautiful symphonic sound. And every time that I bring myself around, okay, let me hear that. Bring myself around to coming out, to walking around my town, to stop rocking this frown. My life is just so great, and I wish that I could always have a smile up on my face. 'Cause every time that it's replaced by this grimace image, all I want to do is get my life to finish. And that's some real shit. But today I don't feel like shit. I feel like I'm glowing, feel like I'm growing, feel like everybody around me knows it.
Tomorrow morning we'll set the table for another beautiful warm day. Look at these temperatures at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I'm not alone, I'm not alone. Don't call my phone, don't call my phone. I'm not at home, I'm not at home. Leave me alone, leave me alone. Outside today gets so sunny, and I might not have no money, but today my homies got me, so it's kinda the same. You can't keep the rain from coming. It's kinda the same. You can't keep the rain from coming. Where's your value when you really think about it? How many people gonna surround you if you ain't about it? If you ain't about that business, if you ain't about having a good time, if you ain't about standing up for what you believe in and for what you witness. That's how we live, yeah. That's why I got so much to give. I got emotions, I got lies, I got traumatic stories. Everybody gather around because you're gonna hear from me. Forgot to apply my sunblock, but it don't really matter, 'cause I'm not gonna walk. I'm gonna kick it in this spot and just admire from underneath the shades. Please bring any negativity. Fuck. I'm not alone, I'm not alone. Don't call my phone, don't call my phone.
That's Reverie. Shout out to Rev. That's the homie right there. She's killing it.
That was perfect.
Yeah, it's nice, right?
Yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, so what we were talking about prior to that. Oh, by the way, at Reverie Love, go follow her, link with her. She's doing great things. What we were talking about prior to that was that sometimes people approach me, you know, they've listened to Crappy Awesome, or they've listened to this show, and they're inspired by the positivity. They're inspired by the search for truth and the search for just more layers within the self, you know. But they also feel like I'm not there. I don't see the connection. Like I would like to be like that, but fuck, I hate certain things, and I hate these things, and you know, or no, the world has treated me bad, and you know, it is me against the world, and there's a lot of things where I, through my journey, have come to find out, for me at least, those things aren't true. You know, I have been able to like circulate it back to myself in all things. You know, there's going to be situations for me that are going to be brutal throughout life. It's to be expected. Life is a journey, and those are those things. And they happen. But I also know that I didn't always look at it like that, so I know that it's a process. And I do remember, like, I can tell you this, right? I was telling this story, and I wanted to tell this story the other day, and I never got to it for you guys, but I had one of those, like, insightful moments. Like, you ever have, like, I call it a download. It's like you're not thinking about that thing, or at least you think you're not. It's like subconscious, but you're not in that space or whatever, and something happens. I mean, it could be anything. It could be the smell of the air, whatever, and a download pops into your mind, and it completely figures something out for you that you never, and you're like, shit, thank you, universe. Like, that was a great one, right? So I had this thought. So the summer before I'm going to high school, right? I'm going to a private school. It was a private school, and it was called St. Augustine, and all boys school, mind you. So I was already kind of bummed, right? Yeah. And I was bummed, but I didn't know why, because I was too young to even know why to be bummed. I just knew like, oh, no girls, oh man, even though I didn't really, I had no idea what to do. But I was going, but I did know they had football, like real football. Like, oh man, they had pads, and and I played like flag football in junior high, right? And for whatever reason, I got into my mind, or I know the reason now, but I got into my mind like, oh, okay, I got to show up, and they're going to ask me like, what position do you play? And the reality is none. I don't never played any position. So I was like, well, fucking be the quarterback. Like, why would I not want to be? Yeah, I'm going to be the quarterback. So I was just like, so all summer, like I set up a trash can at the end of the yard, and I just was practicing throwing the ball, right? No lessons, no nothing. Didn't even really watch football, honestly. I just knew that was going to be the thing. My cousin played before me. I felt some expectation, and my mom later admitted to it, but there was some expectation that I was supposed to play, right? And I think if you played, maybe... See, this was the dynamic that a lot of people don't understand about a kid from growing up from where I grew up, going to a private school, is part of me playing got the price lowered.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I was like playing for I'm like playing for real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and
so you have to take advantage.
Everyone else is like just playing.
For sure. Yeah.
So if I didn't make the team, at least I wasn't even gonna get the, I wouldn't even know how to explain that, right? And my mom didn't understand. Like, she would think I probably got in trouble. Yeah. That's why you're not on the team. Yeah. So, anyways, I show up first day. They're like, okay, everybody, quarterback's over there, blah, blah, blah. And so I go over the quarterbacks. And mind you, right off the bat, dude, like I'm like 5'10" now. I was 5'10" then. I've always been 5'10" as far as I can remember. And there was already kids there that were like 6'2", 6'3", like the size you should be for a quarterback, at a high school. And luckily, the thing about my high school was they had freshman football, where it was all just freshmen, luckily, because I don't know what would have happened had you just gone to JV. Most high schools are JV and varsity. Right. We had freshmen. It was a way for them to break in, and we played against other small schools. So the guy, I'm in line. Dude, mind you, at no point am I still thinking I'm not going to be the quarterback. I'm still like,
why would I be?
I practiced all summer. The kid that went before me ended up being the quarterback all 4 years and went on to like Oregon State.
Oh, wow.
He'd been playing since he was 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
The audacity that I had to think, like, this guy was throwing rockets and I was throwing broken ducks through the... Dude, I literally, in one day, I went from quarterback to running back to, you know what, you should probably just be on the line. All in one thing, right? But I knew it was one of those, and I told my mom, it's funny, right? I can look at it in retrospect, and as adults, I can go, it's funny. Like, you did some bad parenting there, but it worked out in my benefit.
For sure.
Because what I did, the lesson was, I can't just say I'm this thing.
Right.
There is some work you have to, like, you should try to earn. Like, that kid has been playing since 4. He deserves this opportunity. And I'm just walking in like, fuck it, just give it to me. And sure, you can do that. And guess what? Sometimes you knock it out of the park. But for the most part, for most of us, everything you do comes with some level of earning it.
Sure.
And it was such a powerful lesson. And I realized at that moment, my freshman year in high school, I started to question my ego. Right? So then, and I didn't really realize that's what I was doing. Like, by the time I got to senior, I didn't even play football because from wanting to be quarterback, Irie, to my junior year in high school, I was like, why am I playing football? Like, I'm not going to play in the NFL. Like, I could get hurt. Like, I was thinking about all these things. Like, this is so dumb. Like, and I'm not that good. Like, I peaked out. Like, that trying to be a quarterback, that's where I peaked out, guys. Like, that was as far as I was going to get. But I knew it. And just the questioning in that alone, I remember me and my mom had like a big blowout because she was like, you are going to play football. And I'm like, I'm not going to play football. And I ended up like winning and not playing. But then I started getting into music like so much that time, right? That gap was supposed to happen.
Yeah, of course.
But it was one of those things where, like, again, like a bad parenting skill turned out to a good thing. Because what I didn't lose was like the confidence to like, like if you ask me, you give me the information and how to do it, I could be president. Like I still think that. So, but I know like it's going to take work.
Right.
But there's no reason that I can't.
Right.
I never lost that. So those two things came together. And again, I don't know, serendipity, whatever it was, right? I don't know. I'm figuring that out myself because I know other people who might have gone through the same thing and it crushed them forever. Like they were like, oh my God, I said I was going to be this thing. I'm not. I take no lesson out of this except failure. You know, those things happen. Mm-hmm. Dude, I tell a story all the time about my friend. I'm not going to mention his name, obviously, but in 8th grade, I still see him every once in a while in 8th grade. He was that kid who one time laughed so hard, milk came out of his nose. Everybody went, ah! Because we're 7th grade. It was like the biggest thing ever.
Yeah,
right?
Course,
it would have made our kid news.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
And
it's funny.
And he never, ever
recovered.
Like, dude,
so
to the point where I saw him like recently. It basically,
like, how did it?
This is how it manifested, right? From that point on, he became the kid. First he became, because kids, they don't always make the best decisions. So
of course.
He became, he had an X on his back from that point on, right? Like, oh, the milk guy. Or he'd be drinking milk and somebody would slap it.
Oh, no.
Right? Great comedy, not when it's happening to you.
Yeah.
And so he became that guy, and that forced him too early in his life to have to try to defend himself against the herd. Right? Like, so, because he was the odd man out in 7th grade. And so now and look at, dude, this kid's, I look back on it, he was the biggest kid in the school. He could have whooped everybody's ass, but he didn't have that in him. He wasn't like a fighter. He didn't, his parents would force him into all the sports because you're too fat or whatever, and so he embraced the solitude, and I was like he was my friend. I had a habit of doing that. Like growing up, I would always kind of like befriend that dude.
Yeah, yes. Yeah,
and yeah, and so like I would be trying to talk my fucking 7th grade sense into him. Like, man, you gotta just be cool. Like just be cool. Like and mind you, he'd be looking like, oh man, I got the right shoes. I got the right toys. Like, how come people don't like me? And I didn't know. It was the energy he was putting out was so corrupted and unfair, and like there were so many things happening. He got like zits first. Dude. Okay, so then flash forward, college years. Run into him. He's gonna be like, like I think he's going into like some profession or whatever, and that ends up not going well because he gets like complaints from within that. I'm trying not to say too much, but like his coworkers end up complaining about something and he gets fired.
Okay.
So he's obviously still this person that's maybe hurting.
Yeah.
That's their only way to explain it, right? And then at some point, I run into him years later, and he's kind of, I feel like, I was like, oh shit, he turned it around. Like, and it was like his demeanor, right? He was like, kind of cool. Like, oh, he's cool. Like, and I don't know what to mean. I mean, his energy was even.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so until I saw him talk to girls, and it was horrible. Like he went too far the other way, where his confidence was so beyond reality, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so
because
hard.
he fucking put milk through his nose. Irie.
Oh man, but that's so complex, though.
Exactly.
You know? It's like the way we internalize things. It's our coping skills. It's like also like home stuff. Like who knows what kind of.
So what about somebody who's in that rut right now? Like they're in the rut of like, man, my dominoes are falling daily, all day. I can't stop it. I can't stop the negativity. Like, you know, you've been there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What got you through, or because maybe there's some things that just happened to you, or friends said certain things and you paid attention, or you know?
That's such a difficult question. I mean, I can think of the way is like being an artist. You know what I mean? Like, there's times when I thought, okay, like for example, last year when like. I don't know. It's so difficult. But like, for example, last year I had my first solo show, right? And like all the stuff that kind of runs through your head about like the abilities you have and you don't have. You know, I never really grew up with role models or anybody telling me that I could do things. Like no one, like really ever. My mom, she was very indifferent to academics or school or like, you know, I never just do it, just whatever, you know. No one ever checked up on my homework. No one ever, you know, I could bring home like some sick shit. No one ever would even like care. They were just indifferent. My mom didn't graduate from like high school, so she didn't know how to support.
Right.
So I can say that I didn't grow up with like, I had to build my own self-esteem and my own like encouragement to do things and to venture out and to just take risks and, you know, and the whole art thing. Like, you want to say something? Oh,
because I'm trying to figure out, because I know it is such a complex thing. I'm trying to like narrow it. Like, okay, so when you said I had to build my own self-esteem, right?
Yeah, like
you had to get an idea of what self-esteem was, though.
Right.
Like, so maybe something had to inspire why you should even have self-esteem. You know what I mean? Like, do you remember, like, as a young girl, how did you treat yourself? Were you like
probably not so great?
Not so great.
No, not like as a teenager. Definitely not. I think what started to inspire me is when I did start having role models or having people that I thought like those were that's something to aspire to be.
There it is.
That's where my self-esteem started. Like, how can I be like them? How can I not, you know, how can I model some of their behavior? Because I was just like super just trying to figure it out. Did you
feel like you were thirsty for it?
I was, definitely, 100%. Yeah, like I felt like I always had something inside of me, like this little fire that was like never lit by like my family, by anything. No, you know, I just came from a family where everybody's very complacent. My grandparents moved here when they were young from Mexico, and they had 7 kids, and they never left. I'm the first person to graduate from college. You know, no one ever really like stuff. They're just like chilling, you know, hard.
Yeah.
And then so I always felt like I was different and like I wanted more, but I didn't know what more was because I never had anything to like those models. You know?
Yeah.
And so like I think for me it came when I started going to college, like JC. After. And probably at the end of my senior year, because I got moved to Garfield, which is a continuation school.
Yeah.
Right? And like, because I just didn't give a fuck about high school. I had no motivation. Again, I had no role models there. But then they started taking us to college courses at the end of senior year at Garfield at City College. I started meeting
These are schools in San Diego.
So the JC. And I started meeting professors that were like fucking rad. They were like real people like me.
Oh, okay.
And they were brown and they were like Chicanos. Yeah, they were not just one, but like multiples.
A few.
That would talk about the coolest shit ever. My Chicano studies classes, music, jazz
that was
classes.
Big for me too,
those were big. Those were, I was like, wait, what is this information and who is giving it to me? And they're people just like I am. I can be like them. Like, that's when I started, like, feeling like, you know, like
Fuck, dude, you just gave me, like, a huge... Let's table this for off the air, but I just realized why I need to be supporting Chicano studies classes. It just dawned on me like at this moment. I've heard of they need support. I know that. And I'm always just like, okay, I took them, but I don't really, it's a school thing. Now, just right now, it made sense to me.
Yeah, no, it was
just
like
the fact that it opened your mind.
Yeah,
it opened my mind.
These were like women, like men and women that like I could identify with. That I was like, they're coming from where I'm coming from, the same neighborhoods, the same places.
Yeah.
And they're here standing in front of me, giving
in
me
positions
all
you never thought were possible
for me. That are sick info. You know what I mean?
Wow,
and
another example.
Then I started feeling like, oh shit, like how can I be like them? Okay, so then like I go to this word, like we think about this as like negative sometimes, but fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
People are just like, oh, so you're faking it and you're sliding into something that you didn't earn or make. No. It's just more like, just keep at it. Just keep trying. Just fucking, you're not that, but imagine, it's like manifesting. Visualize yourself. That's the end result. That professor is the end result. No, I'm not that. I have to fake it till I fucking make it.
Yeah.
So if I have to go to school and get myself to school every fucking day, even though it's hard for me, and try to pass these tests even though they're fucking hard for me, I'm not there yet. I'm still trying. I'm fucking just getting myself up there.
You don't have to love that part.
I don't have to love that part.
Right.
And also like, low key, I'm kind of faking this part because this is the grunt work. This isn't the part that I'm looking for yet in my life. This isn't the goal. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit faking it, trying to get to these classes, trying to make these grades, trying to turn in these papers, trying to do all this shit, So like a little bit low key faking it, but then guess what? Then you graduate from JC. So boom, now I got something in my pocket.
Yeah, you're in the game.
Now I'm in the fucking game. No, I'm not the professor yet. Okay, so I keep on faking it. So I keep on going to classes. So I keep on trying to read all this other shit. I'm getting all these experiences. Boom, I graduate from the university. Now I can say that I've broken all these fucking molds and not just like in my family. Like now I got this thing that I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Now I do have something I know I can speak about that they don't know. Like I'm kind of like that professor I aspire to be because I have all this information and all this knowledge that I could drop on all these people that are my fam,
Yeah.
And so I'm getting there. So little by little, like I'm faking it till I'm making it.
Yeah.
I'm doing all this work, these little like bullshit things that I don't care about too much until I reach that ending result where I am and I'm like, I made it.
Yeah.
I am.
What do you think about like, because I look back on the, and I'm processing what you said right now. I think maybe I want to volunteer like an idea. Like I think what people might get stuck on in trying to comprehend it is the faking it. Because
and it's
should we like maybe use a different word?
Term. Okay, so
going through the motions.
Just go through the motions.
Yeah.
Just go through the motions, even though you don't love them. You know what I mean? And act like you are already that thing that you want to be.
Yeah, that for sure.
You know what I mean? But so when I say fake it, it's because I'm not that yet.
Right.
But I have to act like I am so that I can embody that, so that I can become that.
You should hold the confidence of being at that point, while remaining humble in the fact that there's steps that you're going through. But there's no reason for you, especially if people are like, you're not that thing. That to me, I hate that.
Right.
I hate when people try to tell people what they are, or they try to define them by, you do this thing, and I want it to be called this thing, and that's what you are. Like,
like these titles and things like that, and not so much caught up on those things, because like I wanted to go to school to be a teacher and like all that stuff, but it's more about those characteristics, those things that you see, that you aspire to be.
Yeah.
Fuck the titles. That's not what's important. That's not what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a professor teaching like.
But for you, it was real people.
Yeah, it was real.
It wasn't like you picked up a book and you're like, "Oh, I never heard this concept before."
Right.
For you, it was like day one Chicano studies. This guy starts talking, and you're like, "Oh shit."
Right.
And then the next study, oh shit, right? Like, okay, so because I'm trying to, what I want to help people with is, because like I think this is what I commonly find is that a lot of these people that might be stuck if they have someone, and that's what we're trying to help you with right now, like if you have someone to look at it from the outside, a lot of times they're able to identify like, oh dude, you know what, you're just not seeing this one piece, because I know there's people, look, there is no way that you are in a part of the planet and you're listening to this and it's impossible for you to find someone that can inspire you. You might be inspired right now.
Yeah.
So it's impossible, right? So the idea of like looking at someone and going, I'll never be that, or like, oh, that's so cool, but I don't have that in me, or oh, look at that guy, but how would I ever afford to whatever, fill in the blank. That might be your first step, right? Like that might be your first step, and I'm not saying that happens overnight, because it does not. But you can start bringing your attention to the idea of, when I look at the people that maybe you envy them right now, and you shouldn't. Don't envy people. But maybe you look at them and you're like, oh, I would like to have life similar to them. But
what is it that you see in them that you really... That's
right.
These are the conversations that you should have yourself.
Exactly.
What is it in them that you really like?
If you're them, what makes you think they're happy?
Yeah, and it can't be some superficial thing. It has to be something that's real. There's like a spark, something about them. We're not talking about like superficial stuff like the Kardashians. I want to look like this person. There's no happiness in that.
Right.
We're talking about real goals. How do you become a better human? How do you become a better person? How do you become better for yourself? And when you're better for yourself, you're better for the world. So it's like, what do we see in these folks? Or that's where we start, I feel like. What about you don't you like? The way that you're thinking?
Yeah.
What about you are you unhappy with? Start really having those dialogues with yourself.
Yes.
And if there are other people that you see out there that you're like, I really like the way that they talk or the way that they are. What about them? Start to investigate them more. Research.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the work we're talking about.
Yes.
Remember, we said nothing comes without work.
Yeah.
And if we like something...
what made that person?
Right. What made that person?
What are the pieces that make the things
again,
that you like?
We refer back to things that are not tangible. We don't do the work, right? So if you have to go write a paper, you're going to do research for the paper. And you're going to go on your laptop and you're going to start Googling some stuff. Okay, well, people are your primary resources, right? So now start Googling them. Like, who are they? What do they have that you like? Or if you don't find somebody yet and so start digging in within yourself. What do I not like about me? What do I want to change about myself? Who do I see that has these things that I do like? And then start looking outside of yourself, and then really start researching, like, what can I do? If it's because that change is within you, man, that's where it all starts,
It's man, again, so dope you're on the show. I think it's because I know, I speak to, in doing what we do, we speak to a lot of young people that do feel kind of stuck at times, because they're not necessarily getting just even the basics of positive human interaction, because it's the outlets they feel they have to themselves are not, they can't relate, right? And I think that this is one of the things that can slow you down, and I'm just trying to give you an extra thing. If you're in a place and you're like, it's hard for me to relate to these people seem like they're having fun, they're positive, everybody's happy, but they don't look like me. And I know it's a scary thing. It's a especially if you come from communities where a lot of people look like you. Mm-hmm. It's a hard thing, right? Because here's the thing, I know a lot of people get bussed out. And you get bussed into communities, and maybe a school, you're the minority at that school, or whatever it is. Here's something you might not be thinking about, right? Like, you might not be thinking about the fact that you're going to, at some point, I'm hoping for you, that you're going to go into the world and have something to give to the world and receive everything the world has to give to you. The quickest way for you to get that is to understand the world and staying just within yourself and the people that look exactly like you, if you can't, if you have an opportunity to do more than that, you should.
Absolutely.
You know, like you should. So what I'm just saying is like, don't let it make you afraid because you go to little Tommy's house and they have steak and fucking broccoli every night, and you're like, "Whoa, I've never had that."
See
like,
it as a privileged position.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're privileged right there.
Yeah.
Take the resources that are being provided for you, you know, at that time. And
even if they don't look like something you might be comfortable with. Because, like, again, those things might be right under your nose. Trust me, guys, a lot of the times I feel when I talk to you guys, you know, and I get to meet some of you guys, and you guys ask me questions about those things, I think we get to the solution very quickly. Like when I'm talking to you, I'll go, okay, have you thought about this? Oh, no. And a lot of it's very simple. Like maybe you have a best friend who's like really good at, man, they just talk to people really good, man. Sit them down and be like, dude, you know what? I like the way you talk to people. People like really like you. Can you show, like, what are you thinking when you're doing that? Why aren't you afraid? Because I'm afraid to do that. I'm afraid to go talk to a bunch of people. Like if you're that person, or it's okay to ask those questions. Dude, the questions that, like Irene said, like people are your Google, like, and it's endless.
It's endless.
Dude, she had a grandmother who told her stories she had never heard. She was already an adult. Most people in her family had never heard. And she literally put in a new USB, and she's like, whoa, what's all this information? I haven't seen this USB drive yet.
Sure.
You can get that from almost everybody. Sometimes it's going to be a little piece of information. Sometimes it's going to be a lifetime. But it is important to build those here. And this is the thing, because I also believe in giving back to communities that helped raise you. It serves that community better when you know more of the world. Trust me. If you only know that community, that's cool. But guess what's even better than that? Someone who knows that community and how other communities work.
That is
so awesome.
Sociology. And like you should know your community because that's where you're coming from. Of course, 100%. But the best you is going to come from doing research outside of yourself and outside of your community.
Yeah.
That's really how you're going to get to know how the world really works and functions. So that's like right now, that's why I travel, and that's why I live out of a van, because I'm like, this is cool, but it ain't enough. I need to go gather more research from people, and I also need to be that research for other people.
Yes.
You know,
I need to offer your services.
I need to offer my services, but I'm only going to have that because if I go out there and get more information, you know. Exactly. And I had a thought and I lost it. God darn it.
You got time. You can stick around a little bit longer?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good. We're going to go over some news of the day. There's a lot of shit happening, people. It's weird. And I don't take any of it serious. That's why we talk about it on the show. So I'm going to play another song. That first one you heard again, at Reverie Love. Go check her out. Beautiful person, doing great things. And we'll be right back.
Save the people, save us all.
I'm uplifted by the pen in my grip. It's the shift of my weight on that earth I admit. I forget that I'm here just to hover on a whim. Rock a taint while I paint with the colors of the wind. And so far what I learned is I ain't learned shit yet. No concern for the cards or the chips yet. Yeah, I'll return when I'm impressed. I'll return when I learn how to walk with a big step. Until then, I'm just fighting for the fun of it. Brighten up my light and spitting typos from my lemon lips. You think I care that you cover this? You think I'm here just to break my own bread and give you some of it? I wanna climb, but I gotta make it work, man. I wanna make it shine, but I gotta make it worth it. In time for it, like a better words. I wanna hit the world, but I gotta hit the nerve first. And no, yes, I can feel it in the depths. I can hear it in my voice. I can feel it when I step. I make noise for the ones that wanna rest, cause that's the only way to make sure I got them stretched. And I I ain't the one concerned with getting stressed. I'm just minding me and mine in the hopes that I progress. But maybe I'm the type to get upset, cause I haven't felt like I've come of age just yet. I haven't turned a page just yet. I'm still writing, I ain't making waves just yet. But I'll be damned if they catch me waiting for a later date. I'm right here giving all I be to this paper mate. Oh, you wanna climb? Well, you gotta put in work, man. You wanna make it shine? Well, let's see you make it worth it. In time, for a lack of better words, you wanna hit the world, but you gotta hit the nerve first.
Save the people, save the people, save us all.
Because mine is THC based.
THC based, people. We're back. That was Kiddo. Shout out to Kiddo, man. Kiddo, I picked her because Kiddo is a young lady, and it's dope to hear like a young lady like being very honest about trying to figure it out. That whole song is just like, I haven't figured it out yet. Yo, I'm trying to figure it out, and give me room. And I think that's dope. Like that's a dope message for the ladies from one of the ladies. So yeah, shout out to Kiddo at Kiddo Hip Hop, or at EOTR Network, East of the River. Just search East of the River. It's a crew of individuals from East Los Angeles. They're doing some really big things. You can check them out at MERS Day this year. MERS Day is coming up. It's a huge festival in LA, and they're one of the only Latino acts on the bill. Shout to them. That's pretty dope. They're all young. They're all young and turned the fuck up. And it's cool, man. I don't know if you guys know this. There's like 3 college graduates on East of the River. So those rappity rap motherfuckers that you see, they're really about their shit. They're really doing it. And they're out there 100% independent. Again, you know, that's what we do here. We support that all day. So make sure that you guys go over to platformcollection.com. Check out all the other podcasts that I just support, man. You know, they're all doing great things. They're having conversations like these with people like y'all. That's super dope. You know what I mean? You're on a hip-hop network right now. That's fucking dope. And these are the kind of conversations you get to have because we are smart enough to know that you have these conversations. And it doesn't matter that the normal media doesn't think you do. They're dumb. What are you listening to them for? Silly. Except for right now. Oh, shoot. We're going to do some news. Torn right from the pages of Twitter. You know, the only news that really matters. I think. Possibly not. Probably not. It does definitely not. Doesn't matter. Okay, so yesterday I was talking to you guys and we did the show. I did the show right before President Trump did his inaugural address. And there was nothing to talk about the whole thing. He just basically went up there, said all the things he was supposed to say as like a good president. He played to his base a little bit. Still thinks people should be deported. You know, it's nothing like you were like, whoa, it's fucking awesome. It was lackluster at best. It was enough for the liberal media to not like have much to work with. I think that's what they were kind of mad about. They wanted more to work with. But whatever, man. The things I found interesting though. Did you know this, Ari, that him and his wife are having obvious problems?
No.
Yeah. So apparently, it was confirmed that he had his lawyer pay 100. I think it's 100,000, maybe more, 500,000 maybe, but to a porn star called Stormy Daniels. And the check was made that it's broke. Like, he paid her off.
Oh shit.
And that happened right before he went overseas this last time. And Melania, his wife, suddenly fell ill and decided not to go for parole. And now, this is the funny part to me, right? I know there's parts of America, and this part, I don't buy it from you guys. Don't tell me. I understand why you would defend it if he's your guy. But, of course she's mad. Of course she's mad. It's his wife. And the world knows now. Maybe she's only mad that the world knows now. Have you ever even thought about that? Like, she knew the whole time. Like, of course he has sex with all these other women. And now the whole world knows now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows what it was? That might be closer to the truth. It doesn't matter. And then the media goes on and says she fell ill. Because you guys are babies. That's what they think. They think we are all little babies and we couldn't understand. Hey, guess what? Wife's kind of pissed because for obvious reasons. I mean, it makes sense. Even if you're the most conservative person in the world, if your husband had a story on the front page of even your local newspaper and it said he slept with the local stripper and he says, no, he didn't, but he did give her $100,000, I think you'd be mad. And so I guess at the, not the inauguration, and I called it the inauguration, it was the address, State of the Union. She showed up on her own, which was like, it hasn't happened ever, I guess. They usually leave together. They follow them from the White House to the, she was there already, like an hour before.
She's really mad.
Sat by herself in the upper deck. So like, even when he left and like he hugs and shakes people's hands, she wouldn't be in that group. She's in the upper decks. And there's no way, like, there's a part of me, I don't know anything about her. I don't know any. So far, she has not done anything bad that I know of. Nothing has come out except she married Trump.
Exactly.
Right?
Except for she married him.
Right. And she married him at a very young age. She has kids. I'm sure it's more complicated than we pretend to know.
Totally.
I feel bad for her, man. I look at her and I'm like, you're literally a prisoner.
For sure.
They're not going, like, even if she said, no, I'm divorcing him, they're going to say, no, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Like, this, not right now. Like, no.
I mean.
Yeah, if we have to lock you in a fucking room,
Hillary
you're not going to do it.
Bill Clinton.
Hillary and Bill Clinton.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a whole scandal.
Yeah.
And of course, she even if she didn't want to be with him, it's gonna happen. They're gonna be together.
What do you think now? Like, what do you think their house is like? Like Hillary and Bill.
I think that they probably live in like two separate houses.
I agree.
And I don't know. Listen, I grew up in a poor neighborhood, in San Diego, Barrio Logan. But I worked for really rich people as a nanny. Yeah. So
you saw the ways.
I saw the ways.
The mysterious ways.
That is how it was. Someone that I worked for, they lived in two separate houses. And they had two separate incomes. And they were technically married, but they would show up to school plays and things like that and say that they were together or a couple to keep up the front.
Oh my God.
But they did not have intimacy. They did not live together, but it was all about the front.
Are you ready? Are you ready for like a future world where it's impossible to front? Like, are you ready for that?
I'm ready for that.
Like,
actually,
where it's just transparent. Like, everyone's naked.
I have something I'm going to read you after this podcast that my friend wrote that's all about transparency.
Yes.
And later on, maybe we could discuss it after you've read this information.
Yes.
And yeah, totally. And I love how she called like everybody out and just like keeping it like really 100,
right?
Like what that
like
means.
How much do you really?
Yeah, for sure.
I've been thinking about that lately because I feel like, I mean, like I watch all the tech stuff, right? Like I'm interested in like the tech arts, and I see the direction it's going in, and that's where it's going. Like it's going more and more to a place where everyone's naked, there are no secrets, there are no, and I wonder, like, there's times where you're definitely like, that seems like more, like we're biting off way more, because I'm already thinking about myself, and I'm like, man, there are things that I like in my own mind, not because of any embarrassment or judgment, simply because I like, that's where they hang out. That's where those thoughts, like when I create music, like that's what, I wouldn't want that always out.
To be exposed.
Right. But if the exchange is more honesty, more love, but again, I don't think that that's a for sure fucking thing, because we've never had to deal with that.
Right.
And that's going to create a whole new type of human being. It's going to be a whole, if you from birth know there are no secrets, everything is true all the time, that I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Most of our
to even
beauties
fathom.
are in like the imperfections, right? Are the struggles, and there's a lot of beauty in that.
I mean, yeah, real
That
beauty
comes from it.
comes from
Right.
from those spaces.
But
for
what if
sure.
we as a people create a world where we don't have to have struggle? Is that even, like, is that really a good thing?
Oh, man.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah,
That's a crazy thought.
that's a crazy thought.
Anyways, fuck Trump. Okay, so here is another story. I thought this one was kind of funny. So Coachella, the co-owners, they continue to donate to like anti LGBTQ companies, right? Like, and it's super open.
Right.
They're doing this, right? And people are starting to ask the right questions. If you're an artist and you're going to Coachella, you're taking the paycheck,
You
right?
supporting.
Is there any way for you to deny can you as an artist, because first of
So
all,
like guilty by association.
right, and let's be honest, right? Like Coachella would like to think of itself as like the cutting edge, like these are the people who are the most popular, right under the level of the highest level, right? That's what they occupy, right? That's who gets booked there. Either it's a throwback artist, right, or it's an artist who's just cool, supposedly, right? You cannot, within that arena of artists, reasonably expect that somebody in that group of artists doesn't understand how money works within the system, right? And if Coachella is signing your check, and you know that for sure it's out, it's like 4 or 5 now that they found. And these are anti-groups. These aren't just groups who are like, we don't serve, LGBTQ.
Yeah.
They're like, we would like them gone. Those types of groups. So, artists, whether you're the headliner, whether you're the opening act,
Are there any
shot.
specifics, like what organizations these are?
Yeah, man.
What do they do to go against LGBTQ communities? Like,
Yeah, let's find out.
yeah, that's really. I mean, this is all really important.
Yeah, yes, it is. Dave does extremely conservative views on homosexuality,
Okay.
immigration, marijuana legalization, and more. I guess the story that it seems, as I'm continuing to research here, it seems like the story that the media is running with is that this is a company who pushes
Ultra conservative.
they're an ultra conservative company
But yeah,
that they're basically feeding off. They've tricked all
Right.
these people into giving them money by, we'll just put up your bands in front of you because we know that's all you guys are about.
So it's just like going to a show that Donald Trump put on.
Yes.
Basically. It's
Right.
like Donald Trump's putting on this.
Just pretending like
he
it's
has all
not.
the best artists like at his house, at the White House, and he's like, yo, y'all should come through
Right.
because like
Don't worry.
Tupac's gonna
Don't
be
worry, it's all
here.
good.
It's all good.
Yeah, because why would Tupac be here, right?
Right.
Because that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, why would, even Rage Against the Machine at one
Right,
time.
Rage
Like, why
Against
would
the
they be
Machine.
here?
Right.
If we're not on the up and up. Ooh,
Yeah.
That's
pretty
sticky, man.
controversial.
that question is starting to happen. So I guess that is a question that should happen. I kind of agree with it. I think people should probably ask that question.
I think
Right?
so many things are bubbling up about your favorite things, and then sooner, like I tell my friends, sooner or later we're gonna have nothing to
can't
fuck
like
with.
anything.
We're not gonna like anything because
You know what? We said we were going to talk about the Me Too thing a little bit. I think that's a great segue because I think what the Me Too thing has done for me on a personal level is it's brought my realization to what the gray area is anymore. Like, what is the gray area? Like, you know, that area where it's filled with confusion and in the middle of not knowing the answer, right? Like, we're almost starting to erase that, right? Because everyone knows the answer. Like, everyone is not willing to go, I don't know. Or, this is scary. I have no idea what to do. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's willing to do that. And to me, the Me Too thing has shown me, like, if we don't define, look, this is what needs to happen with just people in general. But this topic right now is that we have to come to an understanding. Like, that should be the ultimate goal. If you try to find understanding through punishment, you're going to fail. We have a world of proof every time that has tried to happen. Whether it was people that were trying to keep blacks in line, whether it was people trying to build bigger and stronger borders, the push against those things ultimately brings the destruction of the idea those things were even created for. So, if the Me Too movement, in my opinion, was to like try, if they had the ability to get through the muck, right? Like the initial sting, that shit that really hurts. A lot of it is admitting that, one, we live in a world that is that brutal, right? It is brutal that we treat men treat their co-parts, the people that we spiritually connect with the most, so horribly, right? Kill, rape, every mental abuse. Like, we do all these things, and all I have to say about that is, yes, yeah, we do. We need to have a conversation about that. Because that is more than just how men and women get along. If that's all you think that's about, that's like class 101, day 1, page 1. Because it's so much deeper than that. You know, it is layers of things. Because we cannot reprogram men without reprogramming women. It's not going to work. That's just it. You can't have a bunch of men who treat a bunch of women, all women, perfectly, and then still have women that see things as more important and getting those things without having to put effort out. That you can't have those two. They can't exist in the same world, or it's just not going to work. Or just women who have had extremely horrible experiences with men, and they have to find some sort of comfort level with men, no matter how hard that is. And if that means we all have to help them do that, then that's what we have to do. Otherwise, all of this is for nothing. And what's going to happen is, and this is what I've heard other people say this, I do agree with this. What this movement has done the most is pushed the worst people underground again. Because they were starting to come out. It was starting to be so obvious. They were being so arrogant. That's why these big guys were falling. Because they thought they lived in a world where that shit was never going to happen. And now these people are still... You think they're going to just stop? No, they're just not going to be so in public anymore. It's so... Guess what, though? No one is. No one's going to feel they can be in public with anything anymore. Because all it takes is perspective for you to become on a bad list, you know? Because if your perspective is this date went really horrible, you treated me like shit, And the opposite perspective is we didn't connect. Sorry, we don't get along. And one can lead to jail time and one doesn't. We have big problems, you know? We're far from like discovering what the truth is, and the truth is an acknowledgement of our imperfections. And I think that's what the gray area is. Like that gray area needs to exist for us to, there has to be a healing area. Where do we heal? The shittiest person needs the ability to heal if we live in a truly civilized environment, right?
Yeah.
They have to have the opportunity. We can't just chop their heads off. We can't.
No.
Because we're going to get that wrong sometimes. We're going to get it all wrong sometimes.
For sure.
So if it's that cut and dry, like wrong, cut your head off. Wrong, lose your career. Wrong, go away forever. Wrong, whatever it is. It can't be that across the board because we're not perfect.
Healing is so important.
Yes.
It's like such a vital part of like, it goes together with everything we're talking about in this segment right now. And like, how do you get to where you want to be? How do you get to be happy with who you are? You know, how do you turn things around for yourself? You know, it all starts with healing. It all starts with, you know, looking deep inside and like these little wounds, like your friend with the milk thing, even that, you know, it's like he needs to go back and heal his little 7th grade self and be like, hey man, it wasn't that bad. It's all good. You know what I mean? Like, let's heal from this place and grow from it. You know what I mean? Like, we are creatures of nature, and like this earth, you know, this planet is always in its healing, in its healing process. You know, it's in a constant state of healing. Like, look at all the crazy shit that we do to it, but you know, it's always replenishing and nourishing itself, you know, constantly over and over. But like here, we're not really taught to be able to take some time for ourselves to really do work to heal ourselves.
Someone's
you know,
seen as weak.
Yeah, it's looked at as weak. You know, give people the opportunity. Like you said, even the shittiest person, if they have the willingness to do it, let them heal from the shit that they've done. Let them come back. Let them grow from that. You know, I mean, even like a forest, it burns down. And it takes years for it to grow back again into a fucking sick ass tree. You know, like we need to be able to honor and give ourselves and even realize that is what we need from traumas, you know, from, like I said, everything is, you know, like environmental, you know, like where we grew, our parents, shit that they did, you know, their mistakes, like you said, your mom wanting you to play football, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to like forgive her for that. And like, because some people would have took that like super hardcore, and some people, it's been different, their experience has been different with that, where like they've been pushed, something's been pushed on them forever, you know,
they reach a breaking point.
They reach a breaking point. You know,
for me it was very like smooth, you know, like
and
I understand that. I was like, because like I said, there was a couple other people that could probably relate at that same time, and it didn't turn out well, you know. And
it didn't turn out well, right? So we have these deep-seated things that come from parents, from environment, all that. That's part of our growing and our self-awareness, those layers you're talking about, you know, reaching down and healing from that. You know, realizing that's my trauma. That's what I went through. That's this experience. Let me grow. Let me heal. Let me love myself a little bit. Let me give that area of my life a little bit of special attention. Let me tell that little me inside of me that's okay. That, you know what I mean? That we're not there anymore. Like, you know, like
you were just kids.
You were just kids. It's okay. Forgive yourself. You know what I mean? You don't got to, every single day you get a second chance. Every single day you get a second chance.
Right.
You know, I look for my answers in nature. Something dies and it's reborn again. You know, and that little beautiful flower, it has its seasons. And then it dies and it goes back under and it's reborn again. You know, every day you get a second chance. You just got to love yourself for your darkest parts and say it's okay. I can come back from that. I can get another chance. And for us to build a community to say, I'm going to give you your space and your time to grow so that you can come back from that. And I'm not going to hold you to that, who you were, because we're constantly regenerating. We're always growing and shedding skin. and new forms of ourselves, if that's what we want, you know? And when we start to realize that, then other people will realize that too. And it's building fostering a community of us where we understand that, where we're having patience and understanding that, hey, this person's taking their time, they're going to grow, and we're going to come back from that space.
Yeah.
You know, self-love, self-care.
Self-love.
That is where on the tip that I'm at right now.
Yes.
And that started for me like this
Turn
last
up.
year. Straight up self-love.
I believe it. And I think it's man, I hope if you're listening right now, at the very least, you know why we do this, guys. It's just if you're having a day, maybe you just hung out with us for an hour, you know what I mean? And if that made your day a little bit better, that's super dope. It's all we can ask for. And if I definitely feel like this is one of those episodes you're probably going to want to play like a few times, because it's just like a pick me up. Like, yeah,
I hope
yeah,
so.
I'm sitting here going like, yeah, that no shit, right? Like, and I think it's super dope to be able to bring someone like, you know, Irie here to talk to you guys. I knew, like I said, I knew you guys would hit it off. You're definitely going to hear a lot more of her. And this is what we're going to be doing on this show, guys. We're 3 in on this brand new show. We're still going to be talking to people. We're still going to be interviewing your you know, some of your favorite artists. But what we're not going to do is like go into necessarily like, yo, this is the story of this person. You're going to get a quick background, and then we're going to immediately try to help out your day. So I'm going to talk to people, like coming up, I got an episode talking to people about failures. All their failures they've done and how they see them now in retrospect. People are finding success in life, and that's at all levels. Whatever they define that to be, we're going to be talking to a lot of those people. We're going to be talking to some people on the road. And like I told you, I've been out there. I'm doing it, y'all. We're out there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk to those people because, dude, there's so many times I've had conversations with this young lady here today where I've told her, I've like, man, that should have been a podcast, because I know what this does for me, and I know what it did for me. To me, I've always looked at podcasting the same way. It is free college. It's so dope because you get all these new perspectives that maybe either help you with where you're going. Dude, this is what I like too, is when you hear something and you're like, hell no, that's bullshit. That's tight too.
Yeah, of course.
That's super tight.
Totally.
Yes.
Like, you got to take it with a grain of salt, man.
Yes.
Take what's good for you and eat it all up, and then leave the rest behind. It's all
Exactly.
right, you know?
It is all right.
You don't have to take the whole thing.
No.
Just whatever. That's life. Just take whatever works for you and apply it, and leave the rest behind.
There you go. Leave the rest behind.
You know,
That's
and
the theme.
I want to just, my last little thing too that that I want to say.
Well,
is,
I also do that, and also let them know where they can reach out to you, because I want them to follow your art and connect with you in case they have questions.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So the last little bit that I kind of want to just say is fear. You know, I'm all about like facing fears these days, and I'm just saying, whatever you feel is the hardest thing for you to do, let that be your test and do it. Push past the fear. Always, like, that was my biggest thing recovering from my accident. I had to go to therapy, and what my therapy was exposure therapy, meaning I had to go back to where I fell from the cliff. And face my fear, because you know that place, I love it. I have great memories there. I've been going there since I was a kid, and I didn't ever want it to always have the association of fear, because I fell from there and I could have died. So my therapist was exposure therapy. You have to expose yourself to what your fears are. You have to conquer them. You have to see them in the face, and you will no longer have them. So whatever you think you can't do it. And once you do it, man, you're gonna feel so much better about yourself. Whatever it is, like, maybe you want to draw again. Maybe you want to start walking again. Maybe you want to try this new thing. Maybe you want to go back to school. Maybe you want to start reading again.
Maybe you want to smile more.
Maybe you want to smile more.
Yeah.
Try it, test it. And when you do it, and you get past that, and you're gonna conquer your fear, and you're gonna be like, wow, Like, then everything else, step by step, little by little, that's all you can really do. Just take one little thing at a time. Face those fears. Do the things you thought you couldn't do, and move past them. And then you'll see yourself grow. And so it was lovely being here. And y'all can find me on Instagram at Irie, IRIE_IIYE. So that's Irie _I. So it's IRIE_IYE. Follow me there. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be back.
You will be back. You will be back. And because I'm telling you, like, it was really cool to have you on, because I've spoken about you before on Crappy Awesome or on my own show, and I count my blessings. I think you and I have talked about this. Like, we know that we're blessed to have people to bounce things off of.
For sure.
Because we've also, and this is the most important part, because we've been to the places when you don't. And so both sides. That's why I'm thankful. I'm thankful because I know what it's like to not. And then I know what it is to have. So if you're there and you're like, well, I don't have that yet. I didn't either. And here we are. You know what I mean? And I will say this, most of all, if you're listening to this show right now, count your blessings. You're blessed. Trust me. If you have headphones on, you downloaded the show and you're streaming it, you're blessed.
Yeah.
Way more than most people.
Let this be your starting community, for sure.
Yes.
When you think you're alone in your own thoughts and the way that you think and you feel, let this be your starting point for that community. Come hang out. Come listen to a podcast.
Exactly. Yo, we're going to end the show with my homegirl, Gavlin, and DJ Hoppa. This is called Play the Villain, because sometimes you play the villain as a girl. It doesn't matter. Things happen. Sometimes you don't. You know what I mean? Sometimes people are going to see you as a villain because you're doing the right thing, and that's what this song's about. So we'll see you guys next time. Failing Forward, stayilluminated.com. Go there now.
No one cares how you feeling. Time waits for no man. Sometimes you gotta play the villain. No one cares how you feeling. Time waits for no man. Sometimes you gotta play the villain. Never push your faith in someone else's hands. That's one thing I learned from relating new plans. You gotta fall back and do you. That's first and foremostly. Got so many side dudes to worry about a strategy. I've lost a lot of homies and I'm glad they out the picture. Too many hands in a pot to form a structure. I'm a raw bitch. One thing you should remember, you won't catch me contemplating fucking debate. I'ma take flight on sight, wide awake. Why wait for any bullshit to pile up in the plate? So I'ma be hands on with the risk I take. Don't know what's next to determine my fate. Just know I'm on my way. Might be a little late. Sorry for the minor delay. You'll be glad I came and that I'm here to stay. So what that means? Yeah, and watch the rest of the fuckery fade away. Yeah. No one cares how you feeling. Time waits for no man. Sometimes you gotta play the villain. No one cares how you feeling. Time waits for no man. Sometimes you gotta play the villain. No one cares how you feeling. Time waits for no man. Sometimes you gotta play the villain. No one cares how you feeling. Time waits for no man. Sometimes you gotta play the villain. Look, so it didn't pan out the way you thought it would. It didn't work out the way you thought it should. Maybe I'm too nice and way too flexible. With things that they thought were right were really not replaceable. That's when it hits them and shit gets real. You draw the line in the sand to pursue what's ideal. Cause I don't got time to heal, so I swear behind the wheel to avoid the ordeal. Yeah, I'm up against a wall. Sacrifice what I want for you, not at all. Gave you a piece of how I live, yes I did. Tried to achieve what you need, yes indeed. I believe I should've stopped in my track. Should've left that at that. I guess it's something I lack. But as a matter of fact, there's no going back. Just give me that respect when I fade in the black. Yeah. No one cares how you feeling. Time waits for no man. Sometimes you gotta play the villain. No one cares how you feeling. Time waits for no man.